Asia Down Under today, a nature reserve preserves beloved memories. A play turns up the heat in the Antarctic, and Otago gets a taste of Asia. Hi and welcome to Asia Down Under. The 2010 Shanghai World Expo will see some 70 million visitors until October this year. And New Zealand spared no expense to show the world what we have to offer. Jasmine Pudgy was there to bring us the first of our special on the Shanghai World Expo.
The Paris of the East, the Pearl of the Orient. This was how the French and English referred to China's largest city, Shanghai, last century. And for many New Zealanders, this image of a westernized colonial city is one that still remains. Today, Shanghai, home to over 19 million, is the commercial heart of a global superpower. Spread over a landmass bigger than the Auckland region, the city has been a magnet for international trade and foreign invasion for centuries. Along the way, this sprawling metropolis has become a melting pot of cultures and a bustling hotspot of business unrivaled anywhere on the mainland. Shanghai has long offered the world a window on China, but never more so than this year. 2010 is the year of Shanghai World Expo, billed as the biggest such event in history. If the French thought they went large for the World Fair in 1889, the Chinese are determined to do the same, or better, in this century. Here in Pudong, central Shanghai, over 5 square kilometres of the existing city, roughly the size of Rangitoto Island, has been bowled down, cleared away and replaced at speed, with dozens of colossal pavilions representing countries from around the world and China itself. Each country here is putting on the best show money can buy, trying to show how life is lived at their place and what the future might just hold. Having made an impression with the exterior, the inside space is used to introduce a country's people and places, often using multi-screen videos of all shapes and sizes. For up to 400,000 visitors each day who spend hours here in baking temperatures, Expo is a chance to travel the world right here in Shanghai. New Zealand is among them. One of 200 countries with its own standalone pavilion, New Zealand is spending $30 million to be here, capturing its share of a predicted 70 million Expo visitors between May and October this year. Small but stylish in design, the Kiwi Pavilion has a simple message to deliver.
What we're trying to do is show New Zealand, show who we are as a country. And obviously in that, we want to show New Zealand as a great tourism destination. We want to show that we're a great education destination. And we also want to show that we are smart and innovative and interesting people, and that New Zealand is a great place to do business. And we think we've got a great story to tell. You look at our wide open spaces, you look at our cities, you look at the way New Zealanders live, these sorts of things make a real impression.
The idea of an expo is nothing new, nor is New Zealand's notion of selling itself as an unpolluted natural paradise. So this time the emphasis is on innovation and creativity in a changing urban environment. That fits with this expo's theme of better life, better cities. But who exactly is the audience?
The audience, most of the people that we have coming through the pavilion are Chinese, our Chinese friends, I think 95% of the visitors here. But also we're using our presence here and what we're doing in the pavilion to leverage and to promote New Zealand more widely in China. We have a very active communication strategy highlighting our presence here in Shanghai. We've had excellent coverage on the television, in the written media, and also very much in the new media.
So far, some 28,000 people a day have passed through the New Zealand Pavilion as visitors. They're all ages and include many locals from Shanghai, as well as tourists from other parts of China coming for a piece of Expo action.
It was a long queue to get into the New Zealand pavilion, so I had to wait quite a long time. But I really liked seeing all the plants in the garden. The pavilion has a very human touch. New Zealand seems like a very natural place.
The New Zealand pavilion shows a very healthy life. And I think the New Zealand way of life compared to ours puts people first. People and society first.
They seem happy enough, but what are they really here for? What does the New Zealand government, pumping money into its presence here, really want to get out of this in the long term?
It's a no-brainer. I mean, look what is happening in China. It's the fastest economic growth in world history. It's a country which is exploding onto the international arena. It is driving increasingly the world's economy. It's now our second largest trading partner. We simply have to be here. I mean, turn it around the other way. What would be the cost of not being here when you've got around about 200 other countries who are here and doing their best to showcase the best of their countries to a Chinese audience?
So trade and selling the idea of New Zealand as a brand is what it's all about. For most Chinese living on the mainland, New Zealand is still an unknown. Of those who have heard of it, it's part of Australia. Or if they're young, it's the home of Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings. But otherwise, we're starting from scratch, except for a small advantage known as a free trade agreement. Almost 2 years ago, New Zealand became the first developed country to sign a free trade agreement, or FTA, with China. It aims to facilitate and encourage two-way trade and represents a modern-day alliance of sorts. Since the agreement was signed by the Labour government, trade between the two countries has reached $10 billion a year, making China our second largest trading partner.
What we've seen since the FTA was signed is, first of all, a real surge of interest in China and New Zealand. We've seen activity right across the board. Of course, in our main sectors of dairy and other food products, there's been a great surge in the value of the products we're selling in China and also the volume. So I think the short answer is New Zealand has begun to focus hard on China, is doing well in China, and will do a lot better in the future.
To help New Zealand businesses on their way in China, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise has set up a base in downtown Shanghai amid the restored traditional buildings and high-end fashion shops of the former French concession. Not an embassy or a consulate, this is a business centre. New Zealand Central is a permanent base for Kiwi companies and regions to have a go at turning government aspiration into cold, hard cash.
New Zealand Central is a NZTE initiative designed to help companies who are coming into China. Get companies out of Starbucks, crouching in their hotel rooms. They can bring people to a professional place which says we're serious about doing business. So companies can come here, they can give their guests a New Zealand experience in the heart of Shanghai. So it's really about creating a heart and home for New Zealand business in Shanghai.
New Zealand businesses can access these facilities year-round by becoming members or by booking specific functions on a one-off basis. During the Shanghai World Expo, it's anything but business as usual.
So far we have about 8,400 people booked through the New Zealand Pavilion, about 200 companies that are coming through, and about 50 of those bookings are related or have related functions in New Zealand Central. So we start the VIP experience quite often at New Zealand Central. We get people to gather their guests here, we take them to the park. There's 500,000 people going into that park every day, so it can be quite daunting. We guide them, we look after them, we take them to the New Zealand Pavilion where they have a wonderful experience.
So how can we do more business with China? And what secret value do the Asian communities right here in New Zealand hold in this whole equation?
Well, I think they really do have a value because, first of all, doing business here is about relationships. It's about who you know as much as what you know. So what we are hoping for is that the Chinese and other Asian business communities in New Zealand will engage with us and lend us their expertise and their relationships.
I think potentially they have a very, very important role. But for decades, hundreds of years, they've traded with each other. There are families who will have relatives in Bangkok and Jakarta and Singapore and back here in mainland China, and they kind of all interconnect. And if that interconnectedness increasingly includes New Zealand, I think that is very much to our advantage. And quite frankly, I think it is just naturally going to happen.
So Asian New Zealand-led business could have a unique role to play bridging these two cultures and economies. But be warned, it's not for the faint-hearted.
New Zealanders need to engage more at a cultural level with China. They need to get a better understanding of both the social and the business culture here. Language is a big issue, and we need to be teaching more Mandarin in schools in New Zealand. Frankly, we don't do anywhere near enough of that, and it was only just recently that Mandarin was taught more frequently in schools than Latin. Companies
have to focus very, very hard on what their business is and where it's best to do that. But the key thing is that they come to China, they have a look at it, they decide, make business decisions about whether or not it's for them, and then it really is a long-term investment in time, commitment and people to get here. It's not a fly-by market, it's a long-term build, and the relationships, more so than anywhere, take a long time to build up.
Natural health products company Comvita is a Kiwi firm that's building a solid business with a unique approach in China. We bring you their story next week in the second part of our Shanghai World Expo special.